Hey guys, welcome back to the Hot Break Craft Beercast. We are in episode 3 of season 2. We have a very special guest that we were excited to talk to, Trong from Homebrewer LAB. We actually just got off of the call with him. We're going to kind of roll into that here in a minute, but it was so much fun to talk to him. He has a lot of great insight and tips, and we talked a lot about his inventions, what he's done, how he's innovating, and even went into some interesting stuff outside of the brewing world involving ultrasound and olive oil. Check it out.
Completely unscripted, delightfully unfiltered, and 100% fun. Sit back, relax, and get ready to have a great time as they bring you the latest in beer news, Ben brewing updates, and general shenanigans. And now, your hosts, the famed Brew Crew.
So, obviously, you know me. Done some good work together. You remember Christy? Yes, from other phone conversations, and we've done some kind of cool brewing with the Pot of Brew, and she's actually done quite a few really good recipes out of it. We've had some good stuff. Yeah. And then this is JB. He's a good friend of ours. He has his own channel called Vexet, but he started doing a lot of our video work, and we collaborate with him, and he teaches us stuff. We teach him stuff. We're enlightening him in the world of beer. So that's been very exciting.
I'm the novice.
Which I think is the whole point of the Pot of Brew too, is we're definitely able to bring beer to people that might normally not be able to brew or not because it's too difficult. So JB has really gotten to experience that as well. So
yeah, it's been kind of fun. So let me actually, I'm gonna do a quick recap if you're okay with it, kind of get JB up to speed. So gosh, I'm trying to remember, Trong. I originally heard you on another podcast. Another brewing podcast. It was what
DIY Homebrewer.
DIY Homebrewer, yes. And I just happened to be going through listening to the episodes, and they had Trong on as a guest. And I was struck by his passion for homebrewing and the engineering that goes behind it. There was so much energy. I was just like, I got to talk to this guy. So I emailed Trong. It was like a week later. I emailed him. Just said, hey, can I talk? Like, I didn't necessarily want to interview him. Like, I just want to talk to you and find out kind of what the deal is. So he ignored me the first email, and he thought it was spam. No, but I had emailed him again, and he got busy, and so he got back to me, and we just kind of started talking and kind of developed a little bit of a relationship. And so we've been going back and forth. And the last half of our year of 2023 was super busy. So we've been able to do some of his product videos and tested some stuff, and all the stuff he has got rave reviews. I mean, it's just the engineering behind it, the passion behind it is just amazing. And so it's fun to have somebody that's that passionate about it, but coming at it from a different aspect, not only the brewing of it, but the simplification of things. Because that's really, and correct me if I'm wrong, Trong, that's really kind of your drive as far as making the process easier, more approachable, less water usage, smaller batch. There's a lot of things that you eventually came around to in the midst of all your inventing.
In fact, in 2021, eBay gave me $10,000 to do a video. Actually, in this kitchen, they sent a movie team from New York to come out here to video, spend all day for 2 minutes.
that sounds about right,
That
John.
does sound accurate.
I will say that JB is our videographer, and he shoots a lot of our videos, and he was amazed by the way that came out. The production value was just like movie quality. So
It's really good.
It was phenomenal. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that and going, oh, my gosh, that's incredible.
we know the cost. It cost a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They must spend a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But what an honor to have them actually do that. So let's back up a little bit, Trong. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you kind of came to the U.S. and what your background was and what inspired you to kind of completely go off in a different direction from where you started.
So I came to this country to go to school. And after I finished my PhD in genetics, so I went on.
Genetics.
To run a research lab. And then I went back to Sacramento to start a bakery. To give my start a bakery so that I can give my brothers who were Vietnamese refugees at the same time at the time something to do. I thought I would do that. And then after a few months, I went back to science. But things got really busy. People loved the croissant that I made. So I was stuck with it for 30 years in Sacramento. And of course, being a scientist in the bakery, I constantly looking for a way to do things, to improve things. And I kind of like a closet inventors. So when I retire, I pick up the hobby of brewing beer, and then I discovered there's some area that need improvement, that need a fresh look. And I was really interested in pressure fermentation at the time. And do pressure fermentation, I think one of the key things you need to have is a good floating dip too, and a spinning valve. And at that time, the terrible, there are no good valves. They take out the metal. You were not very accurate. Very hard to adjust. So I set out to make myself a good spinning valve, and I found that the company in the U.S. make the best pressure regulator, and they use that in medical field. They use the depth of field, and they use to engineering part, and they're very expensive. Yes, that's the one.
That's the one.
I'm going to show you the new version.
Oh, I'm excited.
Version 2.0.
Ooh.
That actually you may see this one. This is version spunded 2.1 jellyfish. The reason it's
Jellyfish.
is all transparent. You look at it, you just think, and it's nice because when you deal with spunding valve, things can happen. Like person can get interfere.
Yeah.
So you need to see when that happens, you can take it apart. And with jellyfish, you can take every piece apart. Everything come in little pieces, and it takes you less than a minute to take them apart and clean it and put it back together. And you do everything with just one Phillips screwdriver. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
I already sold like 6,000 of this.
Oh my gosh.
But the jellyfish will be super popular. It's also more compact, and it's also a little less expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That should come out in a couple of months. Another improvement on the floating dip too. In that, we're going to incorporate the compact progressive flow reducer in the floating dip tube, so that you don't need beer line when we use our floating dip tube. So that would be the absolute best floating dip tube that you can have. Chris, I want to hear how your experience brewing with pot of brew. Is it
oh my gosh,
it's that you encounter with?
No, not at all. Actually, it took me maybe the first couple times to get familiar with it, but it's really, really simple. I like to cook, and it reminds me of cooking a lot. But what I really love is that it's really easy to carry and pick up. You don't have to like lift a heavy, fermenter or anything like that. It was really, really cool, and it held pressure really well. We used your spinning valve, and it was just a really good experience.
So what happened? This is, I don't know if you see it. This is the pot of brew, the same one that you have.
Yes.
And I did brew. I have some friend come over who want to learn how to brew beer. So we made this beer yesterday, about actually 24 hours ago, and I use Kvik Voss yeast.
Oh boy.
And this beer will probably be ready to drink in 2 days.
Yeah.
Because the fermentation has gone really well. And I also tested out with the jellyfish, and it works super. I don't know if you've seen this.
We haven't seen the jellyfish yet. No, that's a new thing. Yeah, that's very cool. Now for the pot of brew, so the batches that Christy has done so far on it are traditional yeast. So she's done, let's see, you did a porter, you've done an IPA, you've done cider.
Yeah.
No Kvik, just regular yeast. And the pressure fermentation, as you know, is kind of a game changer. It really keeps the beer clean. You can keep the temperatures up. It ferments fast. It is absolutely amazing. We haven't touched the Kvik yet. That yeast frightens me, and I know a lot of brewers use it, but it chews through stuff so fast. We haven't had it.
Brian, I hit that thing because my friend had to leave, so I pitched this at 100 degree Fahrenheit.
Oh my God.
Whoa.
And then
It makes me
and
so uncomfortable.
2 hours later, the thing started bubble.
Yeah.
4 hours, 5 hours later, the thing like go crazy. You know how the fermentator, you can see the bubble.
Yes.
And it went like berserk.
Yeah.
Even right now. So it's actually on the way down. I would imagine that by tomorrow morning, the fermentation here is done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just leave it another day to go to the diacetyl phase.
Let it clean up a little.
Clean up the
Yeah.
diacetyl. And then I cold craft it and I would drink.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So I'm going to back up a little bit because we didn't get a chance to really interject a little bit because of the echo you were getting, but I want to talk about the FLOTit 2.0. So this was, and there's other floating dip tubes out there. And so for the uninitiated, and for those of you that don't know what that is, in a normal keg, in order to get the beer out, there's a long stainless like straw that goes to the bottom of the keg. And so you basically, that's how you get the beer out, right?
Mhm.
So with the floating dip tube, well, let me talk about one of the problems with that. Especially from a homebrew standpoint, you have a lot of yeast and things that settle out. And so you end up with a lot of junk at the bottom of your keg. And so usually when you first keg it, or you're just pouring off that first pint, it's a bunch of sludge. Or if you're dry hopping, which is where you actually put the hops in the keg, that can clog up your dip tubes, or you have to use a bag, or you have to do something with it. With this, it takes something that has already existed out there. So there are floating dip tubes that exist, and we had tested a couple of them. And it's basically a stainless steel ball that hooks to a flexible tube. So this hooks to the output of your keg, and it floats, right? And so then as you're drinking beer, it lowers with the level of the beer and doesn't actually get to the bottom until the very end of the keg.
So you don't get the sludge in the
You don't get the sludge until the very end.
Right.
On those. Now, this thing that Trong has invented, which is just, it's shocking how well it works. And I don't mean that in a bad way, Trong. It's so well engineered. It actually has, it draws the beer through this filter as it's floating. So you don't get hops, you don't get trub, you don't get anything. But not only is it got the outer screen, I'm going to pop it open here real quick. It has an inner screen. So it's got, what is it, like a 500 micron and what are the
outside 500, the inside 300.
300 micron.
Wow.
So not only do you not get anything through that, this thing is damn near impossible to clog. I've talked to other brewers that do wow. So excited, Trong. Sorry, I geek out about this. They do like a fruit puree beer, and there's so much junk in there. This thing, I've never heard of it clogging. And so not only can you drink the freshest beer off the top, and so you don't get that trub as your beer is still clarifying and settling, but I almost think it carbonates faster because you're pulling it off the top of the beer. I could be wrong with that, but it's just, I've slowly gotten, although you did send me a couple and I appreciate that, Trong. I think I've outfit the rest of my kegs buying one or two every couple of months or so to put them in all of my kegs.
Really?
Yes. The other thing that this thing does, I'm sorry, Trong, I'm talking for you, but I love this thing so much, is in fermentation. When you're doing pressure fermentation, this helps make sure that when you're transferring out of the fermenter and putting it in a keg to serve it, you're only getting that clear stuff off the top and not the junk in the bottom. And by the time this thing hits the bottom and stops taking liquid, there's almost no liquid left. It's just yeast and trub, and that's it. Like it's absolutely magical how that thing works. We did a review video of it, talking about a pressure fermentation upgrade, and that video one exploded. But if you go look at the comments in there, every single one is like, it's a game changer. I have it for all my kegs, and I didn't know that existed. I'm going to get one. Like it was phenomenal. And Trong, when did you invent this? This is not a recent thing.
This is the version that you're talking about,
Yeah.
2.0.
Yeah.
So when the 2.1 came out, it's about 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago.
And we sold like over 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
10,000?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
And they're
in a matter of 2 years. And,
Wow.
the Homebrew Finds did a report a couple of weeks ago that said that it's the number 3 best-selling homebrew on Amazon US.
So,
And number
wow.
one
so
in
not even
Canada.
talking about compared to other floating dip tubes. It's the number 3 most popular homebrewing equipment
Mhm.
over the
Wow.
entire gamut of all the equipment. And you've seen how much junk I've got.
Right.
There's
yeah.
so much stuff that we have for that to be number 3.
And you can find that on your website or on
It's
will you have a link?
we'll have a
below?
link below for it. We do have an affiliate link with it, and that's usually we link it in the video and thing. But you originally started on selling on eBay, and now you've got your own Amazon store that you've been selling your stuff on. But yeah, the Floating Dip 2.0 has been absolutely phenomenal, and I'm kind of proud. I mean, I know it's been out for 2 years, but I still feel like more and more people are realizing what it is and how it is. And I'm like, yeah, guess what? I've known for a year. You know,
Yeah, I've seen that all the time when I read on some Facebook page. People say, "How many you can make the connection?" So some other guy said, "You get the FLOTit 2.0, and you don't have that kind of problem."
oh yeah,
And it's very popular in Thailand and very popular in the UK. So I'm very proud. But the FLOTit 2.1 with the max headroom gas D2 and the building flow control, it's gonna be the ultimate floating D2 for anybody to brew beer because it's get the beer, everything you ever want in the floating D2.
yeah.
You don't have to stick your arm in there. You can drink from the first drop, and you don't have any beer left behind, and you don't need beer line because it got the flow control built in.
Yes.
So, man, what else do you want?
Pretty much, and it really is the Swiss Army knife of gadgets as far as brewing goes. Because again, it's not just serving; it's using your fermenter to keep the junk out. I mean, and it's all stainless. I mean, this is something that, and I think you've said this before too, maybe about some of your other stuff. But you're like, you'll give this to your grandchildren. Like it's just.
It's
the
heavy
design of it
duty.
is
Yeah.
fantastic. So, sorry to step on you there, Trong. I love that thing so much. I just had to talk about it.
The silicone tubing that we use are medical
grade.
silicone.
Yes.
So they last a long time, and unless you put star sand on the metal D2, they hold really well. I make a video when I hang a hammer to the gas tube and I shake it up and down and don't slip because somebody said it slip because you put star sand. When you put a surface with star sand, it's so slippery, nothing will grip. So whatever you do, don't put star sand on the metal D2 because
because the hose will slip off. They're saying.
yeah,
That has not been I have not an issue with that. Yeah, so when you're connecting it in the keg, because I have and it's a longer dip tube, which makes it easier to put in. And actually, it's a low profile, so instead of having to stick your arm in the keg, you can just drop this whole thing, tube and all, through the poppet because it's so narrow. But yeah, I haven't had any issues with it sliding off with star sand and stuff. I mean, it holds on pretty good.
Well, you can put it together and put it in star sand. It's okay.
Yeah.
But don't put the metal tube in the star sand plus and then slip on the silicone.
Yeah, it'd be a little slippery, but yeah. Well, if they're sanitizing the keg correctly, they shouldn't be doing that anyway. It should be assembled in the keg, and then you sanitize the inside of the keg and run star sand through the floating dip tube, and that will take care of that. And then you don't have the slippage issues. So yeah. So anyways, but I love this thing. I think it's just absolutely a game changer.
So let me ask you. I saw your review of first brew with the iGuru.
The iGulu, yes.
That's a pretty impressive little appliance, and I also am very impressed with the fact that the beer turned out very nice. I'm very happy to see that. The only thing that I have is rather limited. You can only brew with
Extract. Yep.
and
No specialty
Yeah.
grains.
you cannot do anything else. You cannot use the all grain. You cannot use partial grain.
Correct.
You do this. So,
Yes.
So, but I mean, I know a lot of people will like that device because it makes beer brewing so easy.
Well, and it really it's marketed towards a specific demographic as we kind of looked at. And to be honest, Ron, we were extremely skeptical when we first looked at it. It's like, well, you're not boiling, you're limited, you're using hop extracts, you're not using hops. It's you're not taking it off the yeast, you're serving it off the yeast. Like there were so many things in my brewer's brain that I was like, I don't know. So we went into it very skeptical, but The brew day was very easy.
It wasn't really a brew day.
Yeah.
Like to put it lightly, you throw some ingredients into the equipment and then push a button. And so it's not really even really brewing.
So I mean, for me, and I think for what we do, especially when it comes to brewing, we almost kind of like the process. It's kind of about the journey a little bit and being able to create the things like that. I think for a push button, throw the kit in, turn it on, and walk away, and you just want fresh beer, but you don't want to commit to the passion it takes for the hobby, I think it's a great piece of kit. It is at a premium price, don't get me wrong, but it kind of does a little bit of everything. I don't think that the Igulu replaces something like the pot of brew.
Yeah, I want to step in real quick, just because I will say my favorite beer that we brewed in the pot of brew was we did a Black Butte Porter clone, and that requires like chocolate malt and just the dark, roasty flavor.
The roasty
which
flavors.
You wouldn't be able to do.
You don't get that from extract. You have to have the specialty grains. Yes.
Yeah. But that pot of brew was, I think, the best beer that we've brewed in a while, actually, was that Black Butte Porter clone. So,
it was really good.
It was really good.
No, Brian, and because I watched your iGulu video, so yesterday when I make this beer, I want to simulate it. So this is what I did. I actually brewed it in just all extract. And for the hops, what I did was I mixed a hop tea because I don't have the
extract.
I don't have the hop oil.
Yeah.
So then what I did was while I heat up dissolve the liquid extract, I take put some hot water, I then put some hops in there, a little hop for like 10 minutes, and then another hop for 5 minutes, another hop for 1 minute, because I create a hop tea that has bitter and flavor and aroma, and then I mix it together and I put it in here. So I basically do like the iGulu there.
Yeah.
And then so I'm waiting to try this beer to see how this works out, because it's all 3 different kind of hop, but through a hop tea instead of
the extract. And so it was no boil, correct?
Yeah, no boil.
No boil, just extract in. And that was one of the concerns I had too, is I'm like, we're not sanitizing this. Like, we're not. It's
actually, I boil a little bit of water in here to use the heat to sterilize.
Okay. Okay.
And then I add some water to cool it before I add the extract.
Mm-hmm.
One nice thing about the pot of brew is you don't need chemical to sterilize, because to sanitize, you actually sterilize with heat.
Which is one of the things that
useful
when Christy brews on her system is one of the nice things, because when you're doing traditional brewing, you've got the hot side and the cold side, right? You have to transfer it from all your boil stuff into a sanitized fermenter. With the pot of brew, which is it's everything in one vessel. So you're boiling it, you let it, so everything inside is sanitized, sterilized. I mean, there's nothing going in there after an hour boil. And you put the lid on it, you let it cool overnight. There's nothing getting in there, and it eliminates a stress of having to worry about sanitization. Did I clean it? Did I do it? And because the pots we use stainless for it, they'll last forever. And the construction of the pressure vessels, I mean, again, the iGulu is set at a certain kind of demographic that's kind of the
novice.
Here's a good way to put it. So the iGulu, I think, is brewed more towards the people that would buy a bread machine. They like the fresh bread, but they don't want it. They just put the kit in, press the button, and do it. The pot of brew is really more for the ones that want to make their own bread from scratch. They want to do a sourdough starter. They want the journey and the experience and what comes out of it. They're two separate directions. And I think kudos to iGulu for trying to simplify it down so that someone can just plug and play. I like the exploratory, and you still have some of that process and understanding for the pot of brew, and the beers are clean. And because of this, you do everything in that vessel. You boil it, you ferment it, you carbonate, you serve it in a little pressure cooker. Fits in your fridge, fits on your stove. I mean, there's minimal equipment. The engineering and the design behind the pot of brew is absolutely amazing. Every detail has been thought out, but simplified.
Forgive me, because I am a novice. How did you come up with the idea? Is it something that's pretty basic for most people that are in brewing? I don't know anything.
No, great question.
Can you tell me how you came up with the idea?
Because I try to make the most. I'm Vietnamese, so we come from a country where we always have war, and back to the history, you may be a little too young to know about the history of the Vietnam War between the French and the American and the Vietnamese. Our country was divided in two parts, the North and the South. And the North went down in the South and fight with the South Vietnamese and the American. And all they did, they didn't have a lot. So they took the troops down from the North to the South through jungle using bicycle and bamboo. And that favorite trail named for their leader called Ho Chi Minh Trail. And they did everything by bicycle and bamboo. So when I make design thing, I always say, I gotta use Ho Chi Minh Trail technology. I get the basic thing and make the best of it and make the most of it. So I thought, well, what can I have? Something that I can do everything. I do pressure fermentation, so I need a pressure vessel, and the pressure that I can cook, I can cool, I can hold pressure, and I can do everything in it. And I make it small enough that I can use everything in my kitchen. I can use the stove to boil. I can use the oven to mash. I can use my sink to chill, or I don't have no chill because I'm sealed. I don't have to worry about it. I can, after I boil, after hot processing, I seal it. I can come back a week later because that thing like a can of tuna.
You've canned it, basically.
And then you open up, you put your yeast, and you do fermentation later. And when the fermentation is done, you stick in your own refrigerator because it's small enough for 24 hours, and you put your picnic cap on and you drink.
Yeah.
So it work out really, really well. The nice thing about that too is even though it's a small thing, it's a small vessel, but it's got the three best components in brewing. It got the spunding valve 2.1. It's certainly the best spunding valve on the market. It got the floating dip 2.1. It's got the best floating dip on the market. And it got the picnic tap 2.1, which is the mother of all taps. It doesn't drip.
So let me do this, Trong. So let me back up a little bit then. So you talk about the spunding valve, and some of our listeners may not know what a spunding valve is. So traditionally, especially for pressure fermentation, you want your pressure vessel to get up to a certain pressure, usually about 1 bar, 15 psi. You can go 2 bar, which is like 30 psi. But what that basically does is it suppresses the esters the yeast produce, so you can keep it very clean, right? But you have some way to regulate that pressure. So brewers use spunding valves. So you basically you put it on the pressure fermentation vessel. Usually they have a dial on it. You dial in what pressure you want, and it lets the vessel get up to that pressure, and then it will just slowly bleed off to make sure that it doesn't overpressure, and then you have an explosion.
Question.
Yeah.
Does the pressure, does that vary from beer to beer, or is that from your taste?
The pressure is controlled by the type of yeast and the temperature of the beer that you have, and how much sugar you have. The more sugars, the yeast like Kavik yeast, they're very active, so they produce very fast, so they concentrate their activity in short periods of time, which means put up the pressure really fast. So you can regulate it by modulate the pressure, by release the pressure the right way, so that you can. And the nice thing about pressure fermentation is, by the time you finish, because you fermented at 15 psi, your beer is already partially carbonated.
That's true.
So then you only need to add a little more CO2 during the cold crashing, and then you can drink. You save CO2 gas, and you also save potential risk of contamination because it's under positive pressure. Nothing can go in.
Correct.
It can leak, can go out.
Yeah.
Nothing can go in.
So from a novice again, for a darker beer, for a lighter beer, does the pressure make a difference?
No, it's more about the yeast.
More about the yeast and sugar.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And how much sugar's in there, yeah.
So, and this is another question from someone that bakes on occasion. Do you use any techniques from your baking career that that you apply to your brewing?
Yes, it's natural because in baking and brewing beer are very similar. In that I would call the powder brew. We make home brewing the new home baking, until my customer in Thailand told me that we don't have oven. So, so I said, oh, I can't say that. Then so I changed my motto. We make home brewing the new home cooking. See, so then we deal with yeast. Both things can deal with yeast. That there are different species of yeast, but there are yeast you actually can use bake a yeast to brew beer, and vice versa. You can use beer yeast to make bread.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you understand the way yeast work. And the way yeast work is that besides converting sugar into alcohol and CO2 gas, the longer you let them ferment certain way, it builds flavor into your product. In baking, you let the yeast work in the starter, and so you can change the starter. The longer you keep the starter, it'll build up the flavor into the starter. So when you make the bread, you add the starter into your bread recipe, and that's the flavor of your bread is result from the quality and the flavor development of your starter. Another thing too, the longer fermentation when you make bread, you have better tasting bread.
Okay, that's good to
very
know.
similar to what we do in beer. Yeah.
It's like the sourdough starters that everyone does. Like you
Right.
keep adding to it and then you just keep it alive and you keep reusing it. So
I didn't realize that I didn't realize this with bread, Trong, that the longer you let it rise or let it do its thing, the more yeast esters that you get out of it. It makes sense from a brewing standpoint. I'm not a baker or a cook, so
Right.
what do I know? That's actually interesting. I didn't know that. That's very cool.
Another question. Do you use any of your beers to bake? Or like, 'cause one of my friends, he was actually in the video, his wife will make Guinness cupcakes. Do you use any of your brewing to make any of your baking dishes or no?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because this is exactly what I'm going to do next week.
All right.
Because I want to, I have the same question like you do. I said, what happens if I use, I have a lot of yeast at the end of my beer, right? So of course, the only difference with bread and beer is that we don't have to worry so much about contamination, because we deal with bread with flours, flour is very dirty.
Yeah.
The yeast in when we need it right on the table. So with beer, we have to worry about contamination. So, well, if I don't have to worry about contamination, I have all the yeast. When I make the dough, I just scoop out the bottom of the leftover yeast and I put in my dough. I knead it. Now, it could work very well, because my yeast have all the great stuff. It have hops, it have flavor, it have really interesting things. That
Really a beer bread.
Yeah.
Trong, we are going to shamelessly steal that.
yeah, we're going to try. Talk about not wasting
Oh
anything.
my gosh, I never thought about using the leftover yeast to make bread. We are totally doing that.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
doing
gonna
a
do
video
it
about
for-
that. No, we need to. That is outstanding.
It's pretty.
So you haven't done that yet, though, have you?
No, not yet.
Not
but
yet, okay.
I actually got myself a Dutch oven, because I want to be the hardy, crusty thing.
Yep.
And I read somewhere that because when you bake bread, you have to have a lot of heat, and at the beginning, and you have to, because you have a lot of heat, the bread dry out very quick, so harden very quickly. So the way we bake bread is we put it in a hot oven and you spray with steam. The reason you get the steam is to just keep the outside elastic long enough so that you can stretch. And of course, it's hard to do on the regular oven. And somebody's, a guy in San Francisco developed a technique that you use a Dutch oven, heavy Dutch oven. You make the bread, you put in the Dutch oven, you cover it, you stick it in the oven. So the Dutch oven, of course, sealed, but that's so produce a lot of heat. And he said that it made fantastic bread.
Wow.
And other people have done it and agree with him. So I say, wow, that's the way I should do it.
You'll get a nice crust. It gets like a perfect crusty outer but then a nice chewy inside. So yeah, that's definitely.
And it's growing up in volume because it's sealed and built of steam. So that's something that you may want to do something. Brian,
that sounds like fun. Oh
I
yeah,
have a Dutch oven. We'll do that.
that would be awesome. Yeah, we'll give you credit for it, Trong, but we're gonna steal it. Totally stealing it.
And actually, if you make bread, you can add anything to bread.
Oh yeah,
bread, right? So if you put the yeast from the dough that you make with like stout or you make with you never know what flavor is gonna come out.
Yeah,
very interesting, very fantastic, and it's free.
This is a triple IPA loaf.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So what brought me to like work with Brian so much is that he is a scientist in his own right, not from schooling. However, you have a lot of experience with baking and scientific knowledge. Is there any knowledge you could give to a brewer that someone might not know that you have learned that would help them with brewing and with your invention?
We're asking the hard-hitting questions, Trong. I love it.
And a very, very good, very insightful questions. Now, there are 5 things in brewing that you need very careful on. Number 1 is sanitation, right? So I don't care how you do it. If your batch is contaminated, you toast. This you can't drink it. So number 1 is sanitation. Number 2 is temperature. You got to control the right temperature because yeast action time certain temperature. And number 3 is oxygen. Beer doesn't like oxygen, so you got to make sure you keep oxygen away from your beer. And number 4 is pressure. Because you ferment under pressure, you have to regulate the pressure correctly, and also you benefit from having the CO2 gas to carbonate your beer. And number 5 is light. Beer doesn't like light. So if you expose beer to light, like a beer bottle, it tastes kind of weird, like a Heineken.
Like a Heineken or a Grolsch.
In a bottle tastes different. So the 5 things you have to remember, like sanitation, temperature, oxygen, pressure, and light. And then you put those things together, I call it stoplight. Brewing. So this process, the powder brew, were designed on the principle of the stoplight brewing. You deal with sanitation because when you heat the control, when you would go to temperature, because we don't want it's very hard to regulate fermentation temperature for a 5-gallon of beer. You know how to keep it at perfect temperature, brewing like 65 degrees to 72 degrees. So the way that we do, if you have a smaller unit, you can control that very easily, but put in a water bath with a little aquarium heater around it to keep the temperature the right way. Or you can stick in your oven, if you can regulate your oven. If you put your oven and you just leave the light on, you don't turn it on, just the light on. So the light will keep the oven warming up. Or if you want to regulate at some area like in Sacramento, it gets really hot in the summer.
Yeah.
What I do is I put my thing in my swimming pool.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. He does.
In the swimming pool, and the swimming pool have perfect temperature. Yeah. Steady. Or I use Kveik yeast. Kveik yeast also can survive high temperature. So I don't even have to worry about temperature when you Kveik yeast. So all those things, all those tricks that you have available to you, and a lot easy because you deal with a smaller unit, it make it really easy. You can put it in an igloo, for example, and fill with water and just warm it up in the covers, and that's what keep the temperature very much constant. So that's the kind of thing that you can do. You use the practical thing and the science part to achieve what you want to do.
The other nice, especially with the small batch size, you talk about temperature control, and it's not as heavy to haul around and lift.
Okay.
And it gives you the opportunity to actually brew more often.
So it's really good for apartment brewing.
Oh, for sure. Because you can, you get like a 12-pack out of it, give or take. Yeah. So you have enough to enjoy. It goes quickly, and then, I got to brew again. And so you're not dealing with, the big 5-gallon batches where I can't drink it all because I would be way bigger than I am right now. But if you're doing the small, you have more. It's more akin to cooking, and exploring the flavors. You have more time to go through and get the batch done, and then try something else.
I think that for me, like actually using it in my apartment, I think I love it too because it uses much less water. And for someone like me, I don't have reverse osmosis or I don't have filtered water straight out of a sink. So it's less water that I have to put in. So I just buy a couple gallons of water and then that's it versus needing a whole bunch of water just,
Not to mention the amount of water needed to cool a large batch down.
Exactly.
I mean, it really is.
It's really
simplifies a lot of the processes and things.
Now, Chrissy, did you find that it's so easy to clean the pot of brew afterward? Right?
Yes.
Wait, no, you made me clean it.
No, it is. It really is easy. It's also easy just because it's a smaller pot, but there's really no cleaning
nooks and crannies and crevices, and
all.
It's a smooth bottom. I mean,
it's beautiful, and it's I like the stainless, so I feel like there's less chance of it all comes off. You know what I mean? There's no contamination. It's just using some
barkeeper's friend. You don't need anything super expensive.
Yeah.
You don't have to do PBW. Barkeeper's friend and a sponge.
Easy. It's really easy.
Shine it, repassivate it. It's good to go. It's golden. I mean, it really is a brilliant.
Because it built like a tank.
Yeah.
You give it to your grandchildren.
Yes.
Oh, it's gonna last until it never dies.
And I want to say that the coolest part about it is bottling from it. So we use your picnic tap with the tube to bottle. It's so easy. Like
we're going to talk about the picnic tab. Hold on, Trong. We're talking about the picnic tab. Hold on. Go ahead, Christy.
Exactly. I was
Go ahead.
about to bring it up. I just discovered recently, we brew in like 5 gallons. So when you finish very quickly, and then if we want to bring beer to our friend, sometimes we bring a whole cake. We have to get combination and all the thing along, keep it cold. I found out I just bought them like you did. It's so easy to bottle with it. Bottle with the flip top bottle.
Yep.
And then
Yes.
you can when you put them all in a bottle. It take about it's 5 gallons. You put in about 10 bottle or so, and then you have the young fresh yeast. What happened is you make another batch of
Right on top.
and you pour over that young fresh yeast. As soon as you pour and you close the lid, the yeast go.
Oh, it's already awake and ready to work.
Yeah.
So in 2-3 days, the beer is done.
Oh, yeah.
And then you can do that. I did it 3 times. The same yeast for 3 batches.
Wow.
Because the yeast are very
repitch.
young, right?
Yeah.
So then you save money on yeast, you save on time, and you just upload the thing in bottle. So you don't have to and because we can bottle, finish it, carbonated beer. So when you bottle, you cap it, the beer is just as good as a bottle that you buy from the store.
Yeah.
And when you bring it to friends, you give it to them, they just open it and drink it. It's just super, super convenient. I didn't realize you found that too.
Yeah. I gave it away as gifts for Christmas, actually. I bottled what I made and I gave them away as gifts, and it was so easy, and people were so impressed. They're like, you
Wait
made
a
that?
minute. I didn't get any.
Sorry.
Wah, wah.
I don't remember which one it
It's
is.
real easy. I'm going to come up with a device to make it even easier. I make it a regulator. I make sure the spunding valve, but because in order to bottle correctly, you have to regulate the pressure down. It's low enough so you don't have anything. And then the spunding valve is not good for regulating because you only have so much pressure in the tank. And if you're regulating that down, pretty soon you're going to run out of pressure. So what I do, I'm going to make a really precise pressure regulator. So it control the pressure in the tank. So I put it on. So when I bottle, I just adjust the pressure regulator so to get the right flow. And I have actually perfect pour.
How are you coming up with the right pressure?
You just watch the beer flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
You put it in the bottle and you watch it flow and you watch how much foam you got.
Okay.
And you want this it have no foam all the way to the top.
Okay.
Just give a little foam, and that's then regulated by how fast the beer flow.
Okay.
And we can control the beer flow with the compact progressive flow reducer. But for fine tuning, or bottling it. You even have a better precise, and the device I'm going to offer will make you perfect.
Ooh, I'm excited about that.
Love it.
I'm excited about that. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So we started talking about the Picnic Tap 2.1.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get confused on the revisions. I'm sorry. But the Picnic Tap. So that is kind of the Swiss Army knife of brewing. Like there's so many different uses for it. So I don't have it in the box. I think it's actually in my fridge attached to one of my pressure fermentation vessels. But basically, so Trong invented it's a Picnic Tap.
Okay.
Which means you attach it directly to your serving vessel. It's got about a short little run, and then you've got your faucet. Traditionally, when you buy one of those Picnic Taps, there's an issue with it because as soon as you turn it on, the beer comes shooting out of it, which means it's going to foam like crazy.
Right.
That's why on your kegerators, when you're serving, you have a long beer line. So as an example, so my kegerator, I keep it about 12 PSI for the beer. And that means I have about 8 to 10 feet of line, beer line between the keg and the faucet.
Okay.
And what that does is it creates resistance, which causes the beer to kind of slow. It keeps the CO2 in suspension and you don't get much foaming. So the longer the beer line, the slower it flows, the less foam you get. And you kind of have to balance that between, is it going to pour super slow and not foam at all, but it'll take me an hour to fill a pint glass, or is it going to come shooting out and all I get is foam? So with Picnic Taps, which I hate, you have no control. Either you release all the pressure in your keg and then it loses the carbonation. It's awful. So Trong basically engineered this Picnic Tap. You wouldn't know it, but you look at it, it has a little spiral inside of it that creates the same amount of resistance. Is it an 8-foot line, Trong? Yeah.
It's about 6 to 8 foot.
6 to 8 feet of line of resistance that he's able to cram into a space of 1 inch.
Really?
Yes. So you take a fully pressurized kegerator, you pop this thing on there, you open it up, and the beer just pours out. You fill a pint. And so taking it to homebrew club meetings or serving off of the pot of brew, you don't need 6 to 8 feet of beer line. You just need this one tap, and you turn it and it goes, and you bottle from it. I mean, the engineering behind it, again, I'm gushing, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Which your tap, by the way, does not gush. And I found a ton of uses for it, not only from serving, but when I'm doing a pressure fermentation and I'm wanting to take a reading or take a sample or take a taste, I pop it on, I pour out pretty much a foam-free little sample, taste it, is it ready, is it good? The gravity says it is, but the flavor's not there. I'm going to let it sit, let the yeast clean it up. So using it all over the place. And I mean, that thing was a game changer. And you wouldn't think so looking at a little Picnic Tap, like, yeah, so what? What's the difference behind it? There's magic in that thing. And I don't think people realize the magic that goes in that thing.
Now, the fun thing is we're going to incorporate that flow control system into our floating dip too. You think about it.
Oh, okay.
I put the compact progressive flow reducer CPFR in the floating dip too.
Now, are you putting that?
That save you a lot of lot.
Is that going near the end where the float is, or are you putting up near the dip tube?
On the top.
On the top.
I put it on the top.
Okay.
You see, this is the dip tube.
Okay.
And up here on the top, there's a flow reducer. You put it in, and I put it in such a way that leave a little high so that you can grip it.
To pull it out, to clean it.
And stop it by, I put a pins. I pin the dip tube at a certain point so this thing cannot go all the way. It just go and just leave the stick like this. And of course, the bar lock,
the keg
springs
post
will go around it. So you leave you a little stick like it's the practical thing like that. If I push it all the way in, so how do you get it out?
Yeah.
Right.
So I put it so that you can grab it and remove it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's going to be a game changer too. That's amazing.
That's just done. After that's done, there's no more room for improvement.
I'm sure you'll come up with something, Trong. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I didn't think of doing this. I'm sure you'll come up with something. Yeah.
Do you have any tips? Do you have any tips for using your pressure cooker?
there are a lot of tips. Actually, I found that because I'm so inspired from the way that you do this podcast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to once a week, I think I'm going to have the homebrew lab brew a long hour. So because it's so small, so we can brew, people around the world can brew with me. If they
Okay.
have the potter brew, I brew in my kitchen and you brew in your kitchen with the same recipe that we have ahead. So we can brew together around the world at the same time.
That's a good idea.
And then you can ask questions, or you can, if you miss some part, you can go back and watch it later. So I think that I will also invite people like Brian would be a co-host, remote co-host, so that people can talk about it. So it's a way to create a community and all sharing knowledge and experience. So I think that
I like that.
Really,
You know,
cool, right?
It's very cool.
We might be able to do something like that. If you're okay with us kind of hosting it, and then we pull you in. We already have kind of this equipment and the setup and stuff, and we can just live stream that to YouTube, and we could try it. A brew along.
That would be amazing.
We've been actually working towards doing this kind of stuff live. Obviously, we're not there yet because of some of the technical stuff that we're still learning. But we actually have the capability, and that's the direction we're going, to do it live and stream it out over YouTube. And so that would be a brew along.
That would be really cool.
Brew
That
along
would
with
be
Trong.
amazing.
Brew along with Tron.
I
That
love
sounds
it.
like a good theme.
Oh my gosh, we would love to take part in that,
Yeah.
Trong. I think that would be very, very cool. And we'll try to keep
If
it.
you don't brew, you can join and see how it works, and then maybe you get inspiration, or you brew lab batch, it didn't work, and you see how come I think this doesn't work. You can watch, you can ask,
Yeah.
right, live.
Yeah.
No, I'm all for it. That sounds amazing. That sounds so fun.
Monitor the chat
Yeah.
and see kind of, yeah. Oh, I love that, Trong. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so we talked about the float dip tube, the picnic tap, which I love. Okay, so the spunding valve. So I got your early revision of the spunding valve, which is a stainless steel beauty. Now you said the new spunding valve you have, it's called what was it called again? The jellyfish. Jellyfish, and that thing is clear.
Right.
Okay. What changes have you made to it other than making it clear? Is there any other improvements? Smaller size, it's clear. What's
The clear is that I use the kind of plastic that you can see through, and of course you know that the adjustment to it already clear, so you can see the piston move up and down. You can see ahead. So, but the back is all black. So now I make the back is all clear.
okay?
But everything come apart.
Yeah.
Then all the little pieces that come, you take totally apart. And because of that, if anything go wrong with any of those parts, you just replace it. So that it never died.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like a bicycle. If the wheel goes bad, you change the wheel. If the handlebar bad, you change the brakes are bad. So that's the process that I want. My principle in the 3N. I use the 3N words. In my design. Number one, it had to be novel, it had to be nifty, it had to be non-obvious, and it be non-obsolete.
I like it.
So I like the fact that you're making it clear so that you can see, because I've had beers that overflow into the spunding valve and you have to kind of take it apart and clean it, and you always wonder. I always wonder, did I really get everything out of it, or is this going to be a problem later? If it's clear, you can tell if there's any gunk left inside and really make sure that it's clean. And it sounds like you're making it modular, so you can replace parts as they wear out.
Yeah, you can take it all apart. And you see, if you look at a spunding valve that you have there, you have 4 ports.
Yeah.
And you have one port for the valve, one port for the monitor, and one part for the gauge,
Yeah.
and one part for the sucking. Okay, we make it so that you can ferment 2 tanks at the same time.
Oh.
You need 4 ports. So now, because I need 4 ports, I have to have 2 things next to it, so that now my new thing this thing have 4 ports. I don't know if you see it. It have 4 ports.
Yeah.
The port to inject the gas, the port for the gauge, it's port for the thermometer, and a port for the suction valve. Everything in 4 ports. in one unit.
Yeah.
So in fact, right now, you look at your thing, you have two pieces connected together.
Yeah.
To give you power point.
Yeah.
But this thing have just one more. Look.
That's a lot smaller. Oh, wow. That's very compact.
And clear through, and I love the name jellyfish. Many people, because it reminds me, look at this, I look like a jellyfish because it's clear.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's outstanding. So let's talk about, speaking of the pot of brewing things now, and I don't know if you want to talk about it or if you can talk about it, but you had mentioned a couple of emails ago, a couple months ago, that you were coming out with a new lid for the pot of brew.
Yeah. This is the one that right here on this side. This is actually the lid here. You see, it got 4-port.
Yeah.
Got the liquid post. It got the gas post. It got the thermal well, right?
Yeah.
And it got the one in the middle here in the pressure regulator. And the safety relief valve.
Yeah, for sure. That's necessary.
What cool is the thermometer. Normally, the thermometer is very skinny, right?
Right.
So I make the thermometer 8 millimeter OD, like 516. So that it's very fat for the thermometer. But I have planned for it because it's fat enough and long enough. I can put all kinds of instrument in here.
Oh.
I can put all kinds of instrument. My future version will have a way for you to indicate the temperature, the pressure, and also the gravity. And the way I use the gravity, I create a way that I will send out ultrasonic sound. The ultrasonic sound would go around the pot and bounce back.
Really?
And how fast it bouncing back depends on
the density of the liquid. Yeah.
So then because of that, you can have the exact way to measure your density of your liquid using super high tech and pretty easy to do.
That's genius.
New electronic.
I don't think anybody's doing anything like that. Yes.
Because I have a pot. I know the shape of the pot. I know I can do testing for different kind of gravity, like a sonar. You send sonar out and the wave bouncing back. And the heavy the thing is, it takes slower to bounce back and have a pattern. So I measure the bounce back and then I create a whole data file and have an algorithm that will tell me what kind of gravity is having. And it's so.
That is very, wow.
That's genius, man. You are a genius, Tron.
This is like Hunt for Red October beer.
Right?
No, but you understand, right? That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Sound wave, bounce it back, read the bounce back, and then measure the thing.
Wow.
Now, is that
nobody has it? It would do even better than the tilt.
I was going to say most of the electronic stuff where they're measuring it is based on the angle of a floating hydrometer, like the tilt, like the ice spindle, like the wrapped pill from Australia. Using sonar, using sound waves, ultrasound to measure the density of a liquid. That is interesting. Now, it's obviously contingent on the shape of the pot, the shape of the vessel, because it has to know the distance.
We know the profile. We know what the pattern around from a different. The only variable is temperature, and then the density.
Yeah,
the temperature of the liquid and the density.
Right, because the temperature is going to impact the density of the liquid, along with the sugar content. Right.
So you see,
yeah,
people are actually using that already. It's nothing new. They do it for a long time in a variety of things, but a lot of time they use radioactive way to measure, but that too doesn't work. Or Plateau have actually come up with a system to get the cost like $1,000 just for that.
Yeah,
a little module you stick it on the big deal, and to do the measure. But I don't have the perfect setup. I have the pot. I know my exactly pot. I know the temperature, and I know the pattern. I have the data. I have the algorithm. We can get it
You
done.
can get there.
It's
So,
genius.
yeah. How far?
It's genius.
How far along are you in developing it, or is it really just kind of the conceptual idea, or have you?
It's a conception, but as
Okay.
scientists, usually when we think about something, we 90%.
Right. Oh wow. So with the pot of brew, and so you have the new lid style that you're talking about. Are you currently are those parts available for people to purchase from you, or is it you're still in the works and still working out the distribution, or how are you?
I actually have 100 units come here that I would receive in 2 weeks.
Okay.
The first 100 units, and another crazy thing too is, this lid here.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'm gonna have, one of the oval thing that to go on the cake. I put one of the thing here, so you can open it. You can open a cake lid.
Mm-hmm.
The regular Coney cake lid's on the top of it.
Yes.
So you can, when you seal it, you don't have to open the whole thing. You just open the one in the middle, and the cake lid have its own ports on it. So it's totally really easy to use.
Yeah. So that you're still working on the lid itself as far as having that
This
port.
lid is done. This lid is this is the production lid right now.
Okay. Okay. Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. So that you said 2 weeks. So when will that be available for purchase?
2 3 weeks.
2 3
After I
weeks. You're working
receive,
on.
I have to put on the component on, because the pot it comes from China.
Uh-huh.
Because we don't make pressure cooker in this country.
No.
So, some people say that.
We don't make anything.
We make all the part. So they're coming here and we assemble, we test it, and then we ship it out. So that's still, they're going to still a made in USA product, because the majority of the value is done in California.
Mm-hmm.
It come complete. That thing come with jellyfish. It come with FLOTit 2.1. It come with picnic tack. And it will come with a thermometer, built-in thermometer, just the simple version, not the advanced version for the future, because I need some resources.
Well, sure. Yeah.
Doable.
Yeah. Oh wow. So that's rolling out in a couple weeks.
I'm
Then that's
excited.
fantastic. Yeah.
Do you have a GoFundMe to help you with your development of your creations?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I mean, the way it works right now, because we're doing pretty well with our other components, so they're basically financing what we work. But if we have to build, if we have to ship the whole container, like a couple 1,000 units, we probably will need some help.
Is there an email if someone has a question or wants to contribute or anything like that? I don't mean to put you on the spot with it, but is there a good way for them to reach out if they have questions?
Yeah, I think that I love to answer questions that people send to my website, Trong of Homebrewer LAB.com, and I get like dozens of questions every day from around the world. I just love it, because I can enlighten them with my knowledge, the benefit of what I know.
Yeah.
So people can always write to Trong at homebrewlab.com.
And they can also check out your website, which has stuff on it. Do you want to plug that address? What is that?
Yes. Yeah. Homebrewlab.com.
Homebrewlab.com. You've got your
Homebrewer Lab, because it's not homebrew. Homebrew is about home brewing.
Yes.
Homebrewer is about what the homebrewer do.
Exactly.
The homebrewer do a lot of things more than just brewing beer. They can make bread. They can
make sonar that measures the density of fluids.
The
I mean,
homebrewer is the kitchen.
yes.
Because the kitchen is the lab of the homebrewer.
Yes.
That's why we do this thing in the kitchen, because this is the lab.
So coming from someone that is always curious and learning, and I love inventors, like my favorite inventor is Nikola Tesla. Do you have a favorite inventor?
Oh, yeah. So, of course, we always say Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, he's amazing.
Because he can do so many.
He's
He
amazing.
can do. And back in the day when we didn't know a lot of resource, but
Yeah. No, I think that actually is kind of goes along with your personality, I think. With so many aspects, he was talented in so many different ways and so many different things, and you kind of have a similar background where you've done so much and have so many different creative, scientific areas that you go into and come from. So I think that's a good hero for you for sure. Trong, anything else coming up on the horizon that we haven't already covered or talked about? I think we've covered quite a bit today, but this has been so much fun. But what else you got?
I think that I think you'll be sorry you asked.
I loved it. Oh my gosh, we love it.
Yeah. One thing that I find it very, very exciting and again, to make use of what we have and what we know, right? To serve a better purpose. Everybody loves olive oil. And the problem with olive oil is that they get oxidized pretty easy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, every time you pour, it's gonna drip, and it's expensive. So, and it doesn't very light. So, this short story. Like last April, I was invited to a friend's house for Easter, and after Easter dinner, we walked around, and I saw he had an olive tree. The fruit of olive is still. I said, "This is April. How come you still have olive on your tree?" So I said, "Well, let's pick them up and let's make some table olive." So we got a bunch of them. He got some, I got some. I took it home because I never cured olive before. So I want to see. I need to read up on this thing, right? So I started reading on the different recipe and different way of the theory behind de-withering the olive, because you cannot eat the olive straight from the tree. You have to cure it. Otherwise, it tastes terrible, real bitter.
Okay.
And I ran into an article by this Turkish professor who was trying to develop a technique to shorten the de-bittering process of olives. So the way he did was he exposed the olives to CO2 pressure. So, and then he said, "Well, I see what happened with the CO2 would shorten the process of de-bittering." And he found, yes, the answer is yes. It actually takes less time to de-bitter the olive. And then part of his study, he wanted to see what happened. He would expose the olive oil to CO2 gas. And then he found out that it doesn't affect the flavor of the olive oil. And actually, the polyphenol profile of the olive oil that been treated with CO2 gas is more resemblant of extra virgin olive oil. And the polyphenols within the antioxidants component of the olive oil is more resistant to oxidation. So when I read the article, I said, wow, if olive oil is okay with CO2 gas doesn't affect it. We're brewing beer. We know everything about CO2 gas.
Yeah.
We know how to control it. I have a picnic tap that can pour things real fast and drip. So said, let's see if we can make one and put them together and see, treat the olive oil for all that time and to see how bad it is or it's making a difference. So I made myself one.
Oh boy. Yes.
To see it.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It's pretty exciting.
Trong is a scientist through and through. I love it.
Inventor.
So I have
Inventor.
none of these. I have a bunch of these, right?
Wow.
Whoa.
So that is
What I did was
that's a UKEG growler, right?
for you.
UKEG. Okay. Okay.
So then I put on the tab. Look at, I have my picnic tab on. It doesn't have. I cannot use the UK growler because it tripped like crazy.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yes.
In bad for beer, it's worse for olive oil, right? So, and they have a little window for light. So I make the thing to cover the window, the side glass.
Yeah.
Because, olive oil doesn't like
light.
It doesn't like light. So then I put olive oil in here and then I filled it up. I pressurize with CO2. And of course, I don't only need CO2 gas to push the olive oil out. So I only need like 2 or 3 psi.
Yeah.
And then CO2 gas is absorbed in olive oil at very low rate and is pressure dependent. The higher the pressure, the more CO2 gas go to the olive oil. But at 2 or 3 psi at minimum.
Yeah.
So then I start tasting that olive oil. I leave it there for 6 months. And they're like from April until whatever, toward the end of last year. And I made several of these and I gave it to my friend. Different people have all these. I want you guys to taste the oil. And then you compare with the fresh oil and the one that been here, and they see no difference. And it doesn't get worse. Actually, it be better. The density of the olive oil seems to be a little heavier. It have a more umami taste. It actually makes the olive oil better.
Wow.
Wow.
All my friends want this. You know, I right now I owe people 5 euro of this thing. This is the olive.
I love it.
What is it called?
Oliver.
Oliver. Oh, that's a good
So
name for it.
are you able to buy those on your site?
Trouble said, Tom, when you get my olive? You know, like.
So Trong, are those commercially available, or are those only for like really good friends?
You know, like people want, I make it for them, but I have to buy the deal.
Yeah.
And I have to take the thing off. I have to sort. I have to modify it because this not. You see that this they have my picnic tab on it.
Yes.
So
I feel like
And then-
you're reaching a whole different demographic though, where people would pay a lot of money for that. I
A
feel
lot
like
of people
a
love
lot
that
of
olive
chefs
oil.
like
Definitely.
You don't believe it, Brian. If you have it, you're gonna love it because the app is so convenient. Right now, if you want the olive oil, you have to take the bottle, you have to take the cap off, you
Yeah.
have the cap off, you have to pour it, and then you have to wire up the bottle, you put the thing down, then you have 2 oil rings, the little oil ring and a big oil ring on the counter. And then every time you do that, you set air in and you mix the air.
It oxidizes it.
You oxidize, you rancid the olive.
Yes.
Right?
Your olive oil supposed to be good for you because it have a lot of antioxidant and polyphenol.
Not if it's
But
oxidized.
It's really good antioxidant. It attack air, and now it carries free radical.
Yeah.
So the old olive oil you have, you take it, besides tasting bad, it's bad for you because it have a lot of free radical that go in your body that you're supposed to use olive oil to negate it, to neutralize it.
if you could make it like
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing and make it all like
Oh, you're all about the aesthetically
well,
pleasing.
that's- like a lot of the women or housewives that cook that have money, they would buy that, and if it was all like stainless or rose gold, or
I don't know. That's a copper
That's
UKEG though.
beautiful.
Copper's
Copper.
like
That's very
traditional
beautiful.
old school
so
kitchen
if you do
stuff.
but if
I would gladly buy you that
Yeah.
from you, Tron. Like if you have that available, you got a customer.
We'll be out there tomorrow.
That's so cool. Look, I have this in the version that
You got a stainless, you got a copper.
oh, it is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
people love it. It's just, and this is so convenient. You don't appreciate how nice it is if you want to have a little olive oil. And you know what? I use the best extra virgin olive oil. And then if I get hungry, I just get the little thing. I show you how it works.
I would put that
This
in my
guy's
kitchen.
amazing.
I would put that in my
love
kitchen.
Trump. Absolutely love Trump.
Just
This
thinking
guy's-
about what it would look like in your kitchen, it would look pretty.
Yeah.
Like,
How
it
I
would look
get a
good.
little oil. If I want a little oil in there, I just do that.
Yeah, you're a genius, Tron.
Right? That is fantastic.
That's exciting.
You actually like it?
Oh,
my
yeah.
gosh.
No, we
I
love
went to
it.
culinary school, and olive oil, I use that a lot.
Yep.
And I mean, you don't really know what you're getting when you're buying, and who has the capability of making olive oil at home, and you're giving that to people. That's amazing.
That is absolutely outstanding.
Pat, you make me really happy because it worked really well for me, and my friends love it.
Yes.
No.
It looks so cool too.
It does look very cool.
We can bring it to the table. You actually can, if you put it on a frying pan, you put it over the frying pan, you open this, and then it doesn't drip. The oil tastes exactly the same or better.
That's amazing.
Well, and the size of the UKEG too. I mean, it's a full-on growler. You can put a lot of olive oil in there.
Yeah.
It'll keep for a long time.
Right.
So if you're a professional chef, if you're
Right?
you have a mass quantity. You don't have to constantly refill it. It's protected. There's no
Yeah.
drips. There's a quick. It's
That's
got a handle.
genius.
It's
Well, and I was just telling Brian, I think a lot of chefs want something that's going to look like very nice in their kitchen too, and that
And it looks beautiful.
really impressive.
Both of them look beautiful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have all those choices, but I decided to go to this because this thing look nice.
Yes.
This thing look on the couch.
Yes.
What does your wife think? Does your wife like it?
Oh, there's a love. All my friends love it. You know,
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, everybody. I went to a show and to a neighborhood gathering and show this, and everybody just throw money at me. Say, "Come on."
Exactly. We're throwing money at you right
I
now.
will like
Yeah.
if I'm gonna talk to Brian, but if you will sell it to me, I will buy it.
You know, we should, and we actually talked about this, Trong, but we didn't want to spring on it too much. It was several months ago. I almost feel like we need to make a road trip.
Yeah.
If you're okay with it, Trong, we would love to make a road trip out
Meet you in person.
and meet you in person. We'd bring our camera stuff. We'd love to hang out. I want to okay. So when we did the pot of brew build,
Right.
Trong showed us how to build our pot of brew with the parts and things. And so we
Right.
did a Zoom call with it. And so he has a shed, a workshop. It's there's so much stuff that I'm like, oh, we could build so much cool stuff in there.
Right.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I would love.
love it because I have a lot of other things too.
Yes.
I'm excited. I'm sitting with MacGyver and Mr. Wizard at the same time.
Bill Nye lab coat. And
I'm
What's
gonna
I'm
have to.
saying?
You know what, Trong? I need a lab coat before I come out there. I'm gonna have to get myself a lab coat. What is this?
You know, this is like champagne, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you open the bottle of champagne, you have to finish it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it go flat.
Yes.
Correct.
So I create a champagne stopper that actually the only champagne stopper that you can open with one hand. Put it down, lock it, and then I put a ball lock post on it.
Oh.
So now I can pressurize it.
Wow.
no way.
I open, I pour myself hot, I put it, I pressurize with CO2 gas, and then I can drink this bottle 2 weeks from now.
Wow.
And it tastes good.
You're speaking my language.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Trong, you're too
Right.
much. You are way too much. I love it.
And then, not only that, I have one version that have the picnic hat.
I was
on
going to
it.
say,
So then, so when you pour, you just like this, and you use the CO2 pressure to push the liquid out. And
Yes.
you put the flow control so the champagne go in your glass slowly so that you don't lose on it.
you don't get all that foam when you pour the champagne. Like it probably pours with minimal foam, like beer. Yeah.
Exactly. But champagne have a lot of pressure. You know how much pressure a bottle of champagne is? 90 psi.
Oh, I didn't realize it
Wow.
was that much. Wow.
90 psi. That's why you can take a bottle of champagne and all you unwrap the thing and just tap it with a spoon and a head plier.
I prefer to use a saber.
Yeah. You can take or you can use just a regular knife. It has so much pressure. That's
Yeah.
why they had to wrap with wire because otherwise it blow up.
Yeah. Oh,
That
my
is
goodness.
amazing.
So
You
I
don't, oh,
I use that pressure to tap my champagne. So, and the name of this thing is champagneur. Champagne, and you are the champagneur.
That's outstanding.
you're speaking my language, Trong. You don't understand. My biggest thing is I love champagne, but I live alone and I have to like try to use the wire cage to close it again and like wrap it in foil. It's bad.
Is
So-
that tough on Sundays when you do your mimosas and things? It's
well,
just
on Sundays I usually probably
she suffers.
could.
She suffers. It's awful.
Oh my gosh.
Chris, you should have one of these. You can drink a bottle of champagne a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Or you can open 5 bottles of champagne and you can drink one and your friend can drink another one because you never.
Yes, that's a real struggle because I can't drink a whole bottle of champagne.
No, nobody can. So,
Wow. Oh
then-
my
and
gosh.
then another thing too, I made the outside of this ring is decorative. So right now I make this the gay color, like the rainbow.
The rainbow.
flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I make another version with the Ukraine flag.
Oh my gosh, Dog. So you're also socially aware, which we love.
And doesn't sleep, clearly.
This one, the one with the hat, right?
Especially being in California, being socially aware is very
Mhm.
important.
You see that? You guys see this?
Wow.
Wow.
This is with the tap. And get what? Inside here, there's the place for the CP. The thing here, go in.
Is that the coil? The
Yeah.
pressure coil? Yeah. Okay.
I would feel like
Go in here.
I would feel like
slow
restaurants.
it down.
Yeah. I feel like people like that serve a lot of champagne would use that too because you're not wasting so much time waiting for the foam to go down.
You mean drink it
and-
faster
and-
is what you're just saying. That's what you're saying.
That's so cool.
That is really neat. Oh my, Trong, when do you sleep? Seriously, like in between these thoughts, or
The ring. This is the Ukraine flag.
yes?
Oh, that's
Color.
so. I would buy that one.
I sell it to raise money for Ukraine, and I have another version to show you.
Oh my gosh,
Oh my gosh, I'm like gonna cry.
we need to do a road trip.
Yeah,
You, me, and JB should go out
shoot some video
and
Just
and talk to him
talk,
and look at
yep.
the works, do a behind the scenes. Like that would be so
and
much
talk
fun.
about the social causes.
Yeah.
Raising money for Ukraine. You know, I have a very big tie to Ukraine right now because it just breaks my heart what's going on there.
because of the cat.
You see this? I don't know if you see this.
We'll have to look at it later. It's a little. The screen's a little far from us, but
What is it?
describe it to us.
The Ukraine flag.
Oh,
on
that's the Ukraine
outside,
flag.
and on top of that is the helmet with the peace and symbol.
Oh my gosh!
You could just sell
Yeah,
those
like,
honestly to raise money, regardless of if people drink champagne.
We
That's
fight for peace. And this thing can remove so that you can swap it out. If you want to put your famous sport team, you can put it on the ring, or you can do anything. And the top of it is removable. So you can put, like, this is the helmet that you can screw on top, or you can screw on the picnic cap, or you can screw on the bottom post. The design, this thread here, the same thread is the one on the cake.
Yeah.
You can do everything is standardized, you see. So then you can screw on anything, a frog, a flower, or an apple, or whatever on top. And then on the outside here, the screen here, you can do it with any kind of decorating your sport team or your NFL team or whatever.
you know, Trong.
It's a promotion thing.
Tr-
When
you know-
you have a bunch of them,
Yeah.
you can give it as a napkin ring.
You know, I will say you need to strike now because Taylor Swift is dating the Kansas City Chiefs, and all those women drink champagne. You can make it with the Kansas City, and you would have a ton of people.
I made it okay. You see, so you can remove this.
Yeah.
Pop it
The
off.
ring come out, and you can.
He's like you. He doesn't sleep.
No, he doesn't.
Look, this is a napkin ring.
Oh my gosh.
When you have done a collection, you only can have so many bottles. You have the extra one. You have guests over. You just
It's crazy.
display your napkin, your ring, your shop on your ring as napkin ring.
Dual purpose. That's outstanding.
I'm just amazed.
So are you sorry you asked?
No,
No.
not at all.
No.
No, Trong, you know me. Well, hopefully you do by now. I geek out on that stuff. I love that kind of stuff.
Brian
That
is very. That's why we want to meet you in person because Brian's very similar. Like his mind is always going and thinking, and
I'm not as smart as you are. I don't have the genetics
No,
background that you do.
You haven't done,
But-
like, because I've been around so much. I've been in science and bakery.
Yeah.
And those sort of thing. And I just love to make things that cool. And then what? And I really like the pot brew because I think the pot brew would bring people to this craft. And they
Mhm.
can use the pot brew to make beer, to make kombucha, to make sauerkraut,
To make cider,
to make kimchi.
kimchi.
You can brew anything.
Yes.
And make the best kimchi, you know why? Because you ferment it without oxygen.
that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna have to do that because I make kimchi all the time, but it's a lot of work. I'm gonna
Kimchi.
Yep, I'm gonna try it.
We'll have to do another have you on again at some point, Trong, and talk about how you come up with the names for all of your stuff because
These are amazing.
you have names for so much. It's
Absolutely
hilarious.
amazing
It's
names.
absolutely great. Well, Trong, we really appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time to sit down and go over so much stuff because you're so much more than just kind of the beer stuff, which is really how we've come to know you. But obviously, your brain works on so many other levels and so many different problem solving areas. I mean, it's just, and then we can come and pick up our complimentary olive oil containers. So, anyways.
No, we will pay for that. JB and I will.
want to buy it. I mean,
Yes.
I appreciate your knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
Like just-
really, you make me feel good.
All right, Trong. Again, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tron.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Hot Break Craft Beercast. Next episode, we have another surprise guest actually coming in studio. We're very excited to have him on. We've tried for the past couple months to get him in, but he's been very busy with his schedule. So we're excited for him to be able to free it up and come in and we can talk about all things beer and maybe a little bit of food talk. Catch you later, my friends.